Mr. John Nash,
Yes.
what is your role in tech?
So currently I run the soundboard primarily, but I'm also the overall manager. So because I'm a senior and I will be leaving after these next 3 shows, my job currently is teaching people on that equipment so that they can use it just as well, if not better than I can, so that when I leave, people are set and ready to go. And I also oversee all other tech endeavors that we go through.
Rob Prender, what would you say your role is in stage crew?
I'm pretty much a co-leader, along with Cole and Mac joined a year ago, so he's been, another co-leader in the crew.
Okay. As a whole, would you say you're the main leader out of the 3 of your stage crew?
Yeah, but I like to try to, not bring that up. I just like to be all 3 of us,
How is it co-leading with 2 other people instead of like with tech crew? John Nash is basically leading the whole gang.
It certainly it gets annoying, quite frankly, but it tends to help when you have a large crew, because John doesn't have as many people as we do have, and having 3 people, I can have Mac in here doing painting, Cole on the other side of the stage doing something on the walls, and me just kind of going back in between, making sure everything's going good.
Okay. What got you interested in tech originally?
I thought about joining stage crew just because I wanted to do something after school, so it was one of the ways I wanted to get involved, and I heard about the microphones, thought it would be interesting, and went through 4 years of training for it, so here we are.
For when a show comes around and Mr. Hartsfield asks stage, I want a prop for a show made, or I want something built, what kind of goes on when it comes to creating that?
So first, Cole and I kind of just talk to each other, and Mac sometimes. We just try to think about what we want to do, and then I'll bring it up to Mr. Adams, and he'll say most of the time that we have to fix something about it, or something's not going to work, or sometimes it's just too big of an undertaking. So, yeah.
When you run into an issue in the tech booth, what would you say your steps to fix that would be?
It all depends on the issue. A lot of testing is involved, so before every show, to try and avoid issues, we test all the microphones, the lights, run through the cues, sound effects, try and make sure everything's as good as possible, but it's really speed and efficiency is what's key.
So during the opening night of a show, what kind of goes through your guys' head?
I'm pretty nervous because, unlike when we're in the crew room, I do tend to take the first roll lead. I have to make sure that everything happens. But I'm nervous, and because I know that because I am the first roll, it's mostly just going to come to me. But yeah.
During opening night of a show, what kind of goes on up in the tech booth?
So for opening night of a show, we're going to run through all the cues, make sure we're good, that we can see the stage. We'll make sure that the camera's set up for the stage crew and the cast who are backstage so they can see what's going on. And then, like I said previously, testing all the microphones, running in-depth checks of those to try and eliminate any possibility for error.
Out of all the shows that I guess you've been here to witness, what would you say was the hardest for crew to kind of pull off?
Out of everything, probably Peter Pan.
Peter Pan?
It was one of my first shows. It was my first show leading, so I was still inexperienced in making sure everybody does what they need to do, or just relating to people and talking to them. Cole was also inexperienced in doing the same thing. We didn't have Mac at the time. But yeah, so Cole was inexperienced and I was inexperienced, and we were just kind of learning. And that play also required a lot of moving around props, stuff like that, taking on, putting off. So
Yeah. Out of your 4 years of doing tech, what would you say would have been the biggest issue you've ever run into in the tech booth?
What immediately comes to mind is there was one show where the projector wasn't working right before a scene, and we had to quickly figure out a way to fix it. It's a long story short, we had to unplug something from the projector and then plug it right back in after to make sure that it was set up for the next school day.
What are your thoughts on John Nash and the tech crew as tech crew?
I think it's ran great up there. I think that John could be a little bit more approachable if he were to have more leaders. I think that there's too much stress up there, and the play relies on it a lot. Now, we can argue between which part it relies on more, stage or tech, but I think they're pretty 50-50. And I think that to make sure everything runs well up there, he could have another leader. But I think that in general it's ran pretty well. They do a pretty good job. So yeah.
Okay. Obviously, you know Rob Prender. What are your thoughts on how he runs his stage crew in general?
I don't see much of his leadership roles, if that makes sense. I don't have to, because I'm up here for my stuff. He's down there. From what I hear, it's mainly positive, and he seems like a really good leader for when it comes to that.
Okay. All right. Well, Rob, I want to thank you for having this interview with me. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you to John Nash for being my interviewee.
Anytime.